You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what the Chris Spangle Show is about. Get it at wearelibertarians.com or on iTunes. Welcome to this episode of We Are Libertarians. I am your host, Chris Spangle. To my left is Greg Lenz.
Chris, 2 times in 1 week. What an honor. What a privilege it is.
It is our first dually. We're doing a dually. We Are Libertarians brings you all of the irreverence modern politics deserves. We explain to you what the hell is happening in our world today and how we can fix it by thinking differently. This podcast is brought to you by the We Are Libertarians Network. Please be sure to rate and review us on iTunes or Google Play. Like us on Facebook. Share this episode with friends. And as always, please support us financially through PayPal or Patreon. It's listeners like you who help us grow. And you can send questions and comments to editor@wearelibertarians.com. Our guest today, our co-host for the day,
critically acclaimed moderator.
It has been crowned We Are Libertarians Politician of the Decade. It is Mr. Rob Kendall.
This is so great. Like, I've received many awards over the years for my legislative accomplishments, but
Yes.
This is by far the greatest. And I also want to thank you for the McAfee Let Life Live button that I can pin on my Make America Great Again hat.
Right.
And in hopes that it will be Trump McAfee will be the winning ticket.
I have a feeling that's that, or if you're following the Brexit debate, Nigel Farage. I think that's the winning ticket.
This is also an award that I will give to you. This is a small, hairy man dressed in a hairy pink cloak.
Is this you dealing with issues in life, or
this is another award? This is for Greg. This is an elephant with large eyes spitting water everywhere.
This is our version of a Rorschach test.
No, those were drawings from Creating Maya, and I just wanted her to have everything she wanted in life. So
those shows are very interesting.
Do you like those?
I do try to listen to them. I try to watch the actual live feed. It's like a compelling train wreck.
Yeah.
That
her or me?
Well, both.
Right.
But I think it's very interesting how open you are on the conversations with her. I mean, I will tell you, I admire that because I would never be that open with anyone publicly.
We have talked about that. Yeah, you were like, I just want people to think I'm perfect, and then you just let it all hang out, and that's
it's part of the alpha personality.
Sure.
But I really admire your ability to, one, have a great conversation on a very tough topic, and be as open as you are.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, we are doing things a little differently here at We Are Libertarians. If you listen to the State of the Union episode, you know that. Adding some shows, doing some things differently, and expanding some new shows like the Chris Spangle Show. You know what? The foundation of We Are Libertarians is conversation about real life. This show's about conversing on politics, in a fun, real, authentic way. So we're branching out into, Creating Maya is a conversation between two very good friends about her transition, but also mental health and a lot of other stuff. And it can real life. If you listen to episode 144, 91 of We Are Libertarians, or if you listen to the season 2, episode 2 of Creating Maya, real life isn't always pretty, And here at We Are Libertarians, we are trying to bring you, what real life is like, and we'll continue that with the Chris Spangle Show, and then we've got a few other things in the works. Like
we're exploring our fields.
Yes. Liberty and Libations.
Libations.
He will be having conversations with noted people. I'd like Rob to have a show, but we don't know what to do with him.
It would be pretty compelling.
Yeah.
Whatever the show is.
I think we'll have Rob on more and more now that he's got a little more freedom.
He is. Does he really? Because we have to finish this episode in like 20 minutes.
No, I mean, he's got more freedom to say what he thinks now because he's no longer restrained by political campaigns.
In many ways, I have more freedom than ever before, and in some ways, less.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Broad Ripple Rob had lots of freedom. He could do whatever he wanted.
He could podcast all night.
He could, and he did.
I miss my seat at the end of the bar, at the end of the stand on Brothers. We used to sit there and we would convince people that I was the mayor of Broad Ripple. And it may shock you that 20-somethings really didn't know that Broad Ripple didn't have a mayor.
No, because 20-somethings don't even know who their governor is.
That's right.
Boy, don't they. That was a private joke for me. Yeah, no, I saw Tyler Weiss try and convince a young lady that he was the mayor of Broad Ripple. Or no, he tried to convince her I was the mayor of Broad Ripple. I shook her hand. I said, thank you. Have you registered to vote? And she was like, are you really the mayor of Broad Ripple?
Oh, my God, selfie. This is at Rock Lobster, mind you.
Oh, wow.
At about 1 a.m.
Oh, wow. Were you out on the patio out back?
With the sweaty Persians with the chest hair and the gold chains.
You used to have a palm tree or something back
there.
They
still do.
Of all the guys in Rock Lobster, I was clearly the most mayoral.
Yeah. Well, I mean, have you ever thought maybe if you went into one of those places like Land Sharks or Rock Lobster wearing an actual suit and tie, if you could pull it off legitimately?
Who says I can't pull it off in cargo shirts and an athletic
t-shirt? Well, maybe
t-shirt?
you could. I'm just saying.
I do very well, Rob.
I mean, we could drive you around.
I don't do Haley Nicole very well, but I do well.
No one could ever do Haley Nicole well because she is just the most wonderful, beautiful person.
That is Rob's
in the whole world.
Rob's vivacious, gorgeous, beautiful, amazing.
Let's
generous.
avoid any contention like we had last time. Let's steer clear of.
We had to have real talk.
No, it got quite contentious.
It didn't get contentious. It got awkward.
It got contentious
because he was threatened by my alphaness.
Oh gosh, yes.
And he was worried that I was going to try and steal his chick, but I wouldn't do Rob dirty like that.
I just every day sit around and petrified. Is this the last day I have with Haley? Is this the day Spangle moves in?
Well, to be totally fair, evidence I've experienced from earlier this week would point to all signs of what you just said not being true.
What do you mean?
Quote, I don't like him that much, bruh.
That was about somebody completely different. That was about someone completely different.
I'm just saying.
And
I'd never do that to Rob. I don't like him that much, bro.
No, Rob's a different
He's
story.
a Republican. He's not on my team.
And by the way, it is Haley's birthday on Saturday.
Is it
June
now?
the 25th? So a very happy birthday in advance to the
24?
lovely Haley. Yes, she'll be 24.
Greg,
and
do you think he had to say that?
No, he already got her flowers this week.
Do you? How do you know?
Because she posted it and said how well treated she was by her wonderful boyfriend Rob.
Oh.
And then our 1 year anniversary is Monday.
So then this engagement celebration will be Friday. That means I need to.
It's hard to believe it's been a year. It's been one.
Yeah. Sounds like it's gone super fast. Right. There's been no issues at all.
It's been great.
She's very mentally good. You seem in good spirits.
Except you walk in her closet and there's scratchings on the wall.
Can you imagine having to live with me for a year or live around me for a year?
237. Will this be the day that Spangle comes and rescues me? Sorry, it's my white knight complex coming out.
I actually met Haley. She attended a Hendricks County Young Republicans event that I was not at, and I asked the chairman, "Who is that beautiful girl?"
Mm-hmm.
And how do I meet her? And it's been all.
How do I meet her?
It's just been.
It doesn't sound alpha.
I did not. I was trying to be very
covert.
Yes, there's the perfect word. Yes, and it's been all great since we met at
Sunshine and
Sidelines
Rainbows
for the first beverage.
Sidelines.
We met at Sidelines
in Avon.
Outstanding. And it's been all great. I lied about myself a whole bunch, and it's been I got a second date, and it's been all great from there.
I'm a very big deal. Very, very big. I have a huge board.
We're working on the truth. We're working on the truth together.
It's she's just wonderful. She's the most delightful person, and
she's found a cheap therapist.
She's put up with me for a year.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Should we dive into a topic or 8?
Yeah, since we got a little bit of a time constraint, I figured we will put the first part. Rob was kind enough to have us on Central Indiana Today prior to this.
Yeah, Central, and we talked a little bit about local issues, but I think it does apply to your town and city, so we're going to post it at the end of this episode.
And we were great.
And we blamed you for the rise of ISIS in Brownsburg, which I feel like is always a positive. Listeners love that.
Listeners love blaming Rob for things.
They do. Listeners, viewers, patrons at the town council meetings. They told somebody today, somebody was going on about me about something, and somebody finally just goes, "You realize he's not in elected office anymore, right?"
Well, you're the mayor of Brownsburg.
Yeah, the guy, I don't vote on things anymore.
Yeah, but they know they're going to be publicly shamed, which you could argue that being publicly humiliated is worse than an actual vote being cast.
I've sort of taken the Trump blueprint and brought it to local government.
Yeah, no kidding. Have you seen your Facebook? Trump Jr. over here, Floppin' Rob.
Floppin' Rob.
Floppin' Rob is what I like to call
It's
him.
one of the great memes I believe WAL has ever done.
It was I stole it from Greg actually because when he did the little Brett Bittner pacemakers, a pair of shoes where he just put little Brett Bittner's face on it, and so
they were basically child's orthopedic shoes with 2 white straps, the Air Bittners.
And so I took a pair of flip flops and put Rob's face on it because he flip flops on me. At one minute I'm outrageously angry about something, and then the next minute I love it, and he's just always flip flopping. He's out there flip flopping all over the place, so I call him Floppin' Rob.
It's almost as good as Lion Rob.
Lion Rob is good, but now ISIS Rob trumps it all.
No, yes. See, Lion
Rob
Rob...
Osama bin Laden, or Ken Laden.
Lion Rob has been done. Lion Ted, he did...
Right.
Floppin' Rob's
Lion
unique.
Pete.
Lion Pete. ISIS Kendall? ISIS Rob?
No,
What's your middle name?
Rob Osama Bin Laden.
Yes! Rob Osama Bin Laden. You and your little... are you going to make Bruce wear the pack?
You know, Bruce was tortured by Greg last year with the Hitler memes.
That isn't torture. That's training for the coming.
Look behind you.
Bruce was
Look directly behind you on that bottom shelf. Your dog was tortured with Hitler memes.
Oh, that's true.
Look
Yes.
at what he did. He put a Hitler mustache on Mittens.
That's true, and
next to a lovely photo of my niece
and a CD or something that says "Birth of the Nazis."
Well, yeah. Is that bad?
I mean, no. It took Bruce a long time to get past that.
He didn't know what a Führer was.
By the way, that's right. What's a Führer?
Daddy, what's a Führer?
Daddy, what's a
He's
Führer?
very confused.
Greg's child's first words. Daddy, what's a Führer?
I self-identify as a Nazi, and my pronoun is mein Führer.
By the way, the memes are some of the favorite parts of my day. Like the one you did today about the gender signs.
Did you like that one?
Those were great.
What was the one you did of me? We recently had an issue.
What, an issue?
We had an issue.
See you later, alligator.
So
Got a little light ban on Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg apparently finds it offensive that I was trying to promote what a comeback story it was, that Chris Spangle was actually fed to alligators at Disney World as a child and was so strong and had such conviction that he overcame it and survived. I was merely celebrating that shared memory on Facebook, and most of his family members, who one of them, if I'm not mistaken, his last name was Muhammad, and I need to report that person to Trump.
right.
They didn't like it that much.
He took this adorable photo of me as a 2-year-old and put me inside of an alligator's mouth, and it said, "See you later, alligator."
And that got you banned?
Yeah.
And because it rustled my cousin and his wife and my aunt, and the three of them ganged up on Rob, and then another guy, Justin, got in on it, and then my cousin and Justin were like, "I'll meet you in a parking lot, bro." And there was
Justin's running for Township Advisory Board.
Right. There was almost actual violence over a Greg meme, and this was tame.
Oh my God!
So what happens when you get banned? Do they tell you?
You get logged out on all, on mobile, on everything, and
So
you have to log.
you hit your Facebook app and it won't let you.
I'm logged outside. Then you can't do it through the phone. So you have to go through the browser and you log in, and then it tells you what was reported and why it didn't meet guidelines, and then it tells you how long you're in, purgatory.
So literally, there's no warning. It's just like you're out.
I'm out. You're out. It's like Trump throwing him over the wall.
You do one bad thing and it's sayonara.
That's it.
And then Jeremiah Morrow reported me for the bake the cake, the meme of when you wrote your Forefront article.
Right.
I get so tired of it's one thing to just blindly support somebody, but I can accept criticism of my candidates, and it doesn't mean I don't support them.
Right.
And so Gary Johnson misspoke in the first presidential debate on Fox about the baking the cake issue.
Sure.
So Michael Schulteis gives me the idea to make Anne Frank a baker making a swastika cake for Hitler. And so I post it, and Jeremiah Morrill, our own co-host, reports me.
Was he doing it to be funny, or he was doing it
No, because it was causing people to get phone calls at work that Greg's taking the party hostage
Wait a second,
again,
time out.
and ruining the brand.
your lone libertarian guy reports you because someone was upset about your meme and he got a phone call at work.
Yeah, and then the Trump
multiple
soon.
People.
I put the "Make America Great Again" hat on Mecca, and then Trump looking over, going soon. And that didn't go over well apparently.
So wait a second, your own guys who like are supposed to celebrate the memes?
No. You're mistaking that my inclusion in the Libertarian Party of Indiana has been welcomed.
Yeah, it's not.
So this is like a real. The Americans.
It's a real thing.
It's like the Americans. They're spies turning you in.
You were complaining to me the other day because you said, "Hey, why aren't you at this thing?" And I said, "Because I don't go to libertarian things anymore." And I had a whole list of reasons, which we can talk about at some other point. And you're like, "Oh, quit whining." No, this is real. Like you can't. You've experienced.
They don't like you guys then.
Our national chairman called me apologize for my language, but a shitty Jew. And he's Jewish.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't exactly got the warm and fuzzies.
So am I doing...
I got screamed at the state convention by somebody who had been in the party for 20 years for embarrassing the party.
Same guy that you witnessed me getting told how stupid I was while Abdul was conducting the debate.
So, time out here. So I guess I'm totally confused on this because like I get asked to go to places and I just go if there's a camera there or something that's good publicity for me.
Right.
I kind of thought we were all the libertarian train was moving.
You're experiencing sales. This is operations.
Oh.
Yes. No, libertarians love libertarians. Libertarians hate us.
Okay.
And it's because we do things differently. We do things in more of an aggressive style. Somebody was like, I'm looking for a page that on Facebook the other day. I'm looking for a page that I can hear intelligent discussion on the issues and not
here's a Mises forum.
Right. And so I posted the We're Libertarians page because we do actually do legitimate,
right,
intelligent conversation, but we use humor to do it, to talk like regular people. And
God forbid intelligent discussion should be fun.
And the person...
It's like if it's fun, it's bad.
The cover photo was, in your heart, libertarians are right, but let us know once it reaches your balls. And so this person was like, that cover photo, though. And then another person was like, I wish we could have a political discussion without talking about genitalia.
Think about being offended about anything that's on the internet that doesn't like directly involve you.
Yeah.
I mean,
even then, that crazy old bat that you had on your show two days ago, that I can't believe that you would do that to us.
See, we take a firm policy of not having 9/11 truthers on our show. Or fluoride, or guardian angels.
Have you guys still not figured out like that I can get along with pretty much anyone, and it really pains me that what's going on between you guys is going on?
No, it hurts us that you don't value your personal brand enough to prevent certain associations which ruin all credibility.
But I think she's a very interesting guest. I mean, let's take
most self-published authors are.
The personal things you guys have with her, I get it.
The kind where she spent 5 months saying that I sexually harassed her, what else did she say about us?
I spent one thing that we were viciously bullied, and if anyone knows anything, it's that I do the bullying.
Yeah, we were viciously
Your
bullied
mother knows that I'm the one that does the bullying.
You were actually the student government president. Class
actually,
president.
and I was thinking from 8th grade on, so 8th grade through senior year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm learning so much.
Homecoming.
A text was sent to a listener, even though she didn't know because she thought they were on the same side, and she said, "I'm going to gaslight these guys." Gaslighting is an emotional manipulation technique where you barrage somebody with false. It's from this 30s movie where this woman is in this abusive relationship and the lights are flickering, and she's like, "Why are the gas lights flickering?" And he goes, "They're not flickering. What's wrong with you?" And she starts to go insane because she doesn't trust herself. And so a person who has a background of, dominatrix stuff pretends that she doesn't know what that term is once she got called out on it. But I posted it, and she absolutely said it. She is an abusive person. She is somebody who you should not have on your show, because if you have Melissa Donahue in your group or in your life, there will come a time where she will make you a victim of her sociopathic narcissism.
Did you listen to the interview?
I liked it for you. I always like your statuses to promote your stuff, but I was like, I'll listen to it. I will. I'll get around to it.
I will not. No, I would rather eat a box of alphabets, audio tape the shit coming out of my asshole, and then put the words together before I would listen to anything that came out of that liar's mouth.
I mean, she didn't start the Tea Party, and she didn't get Mayor Ballard elected. I mean, but I get it. Every person needs a creation myth in order to sell books. But, it's just at first I really liked her because I trusted Chris. Worst decision ever.
You can't trust Chris at all.
Because see,
Lion Chris.
I'm such a golden retriever that I give everyone the benefit of the doubt 8 times, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. I know they're nuts. They have mental issues. Let's just we'll have them on. It'll be fine.
We'll just ignore the guardian angel standing behind her.
Right, and Greg is always like, this lady.
You're doing it to yourself again.
Yep, this person is using you.
Quit taking in strays.
Right, and I do it, and I do it, and I do it, but I've had a breakthrough. Therapy today was me yelling about these strays, saying, never again will Chris Spangle do this to himself.
Wait a second. So, you would go to therapy about like libertarian politics stuff?
And yes, that's how traumatic it is.
You would not believe the number of people I talk to that tell me that their will to live has been sapped by their willingness to volunteer and contribute toward the LPIN. And I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Like basically, like literally, they have no enjoyment in life at any level because, I won't say who, but there is a culture of condescending snark and absolute no sense of appreciation.
And libertarians are know-it-alls generally, and I say this as a condescending know-it-all.
But the top one,
right? I'm the
the
president.
one that's right.
I'm the
president.
the president of all condescending assholes. But there was I said something on because there's a local city councilor that I know pretty well that is accused of something that it just seems way out of character for this guy, and I just don't buy it. And I said, I don't buy it on Abdul's status. And then some libertarian jackass was like, oh yeah, because every move of his entire life and all about you have zero idea how much I know this person or do not know this person. You have zero idea what communication this person and I might have had. You don't you don't have any idea about me. You just see he's a Democrat, so he must be guilty, and me sticking up for him, and I'm in your tribe, so I must be an asshole too. It's that kind of stuff that that drives us crazy. It just, we're on a mission to civilize.
Don Quixote.
Right. We're trying to get people to give up the programming. And, when you get involved in direct action politics, and I don't blame just the Libertarian Party, but I think it's also any political organization or any group. You get into a group of people where there is 30 years of bylaws and entrenched, here's how we do things. Even businesses are like this. And you have a different point of view, it can be difficult for you. And Greg and I don't believe that a political party should be a social club. We believe that you should do things that win.
Yeah.
We're winners.
Well, that's sort of what I wrote in the Forefront column about it is going to the municipal government meetings. It is building those coalitions. It is being willing to, hey, we're going to come together and fight a referendum or a water and sewer rate increase or whatever it is. And it's all coming together now for me.
Sure.
It's all coming together. But
because you've experienced this too.
2016 is the year of Rob.
It is, but it's just going great.
We talked the other night, and it's that they're wonderful people, and they 99% of them are. And then it's the 1% that ruin it because it's a smaller party, they're involved at every level.
Yeah.
There's a couple that from Bloomington, and this person wants to be chair because she wants to bring back a culture of kindness or whatever, because she's so offended by our memes and our podcast. And no matter how many times we say...
And it just got 10 likes higher.
We are not the Libertarian Party of Indiana or the Libertarian Party at all. In fact, Nick Sarwark, the chairman of the National Libertarian Party, took me to task because on the path to libertarianism, our guide to the basics of libertarianism, I don't list the Libertarian Party as one of the resources on that ending page. And it's because I don't want it to be partisan. We want
to create voters, not necessarily party members.
Right. And so we just have different goals. Our goal is outreach, and the way that we do it is not necessarily always socially acceptable, and they don't want it to be associated with the Libertarian Party of Indiana or the Libertarian Party. Fine. I don't need you.
Interesting.
I don't.
It's all come together.
I don't need to show up, and I don't need to get yelled at for a meme that Greg did 3 months ago. I'm not going to sit there and get yelled at for something that Greg did or Aaron did. I
feel like it's a lot of what Greg did.
Aaron,
but it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And you know what? What happened with the Melissa thing was incredibly hurtful to me because people that I had known for almost 10 years and had worked with for 4 in an incredibly like intimate way. It was very sexual. No, in a very close way, lots of camaraderie, knew my character, know who I am, took her word for it that I was bullying her and then taking us to task for childish memes. And it's like, you know what? We're not doing anything that the Republicans admittedly were not going to do in the fall. And talking to some of my friends at State Party, they had the mailers prepared, I mean, and so there's just a grow up factor.
Was Mark Warner involved in this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it Mark Warner?
Yes, he's the one. And
I love Mark Warner.
Mark Warner's great.
We
love Mark Warner.
Him and Mike Neal have become really good guys. Like, they're two good friends, and I enjoy them so much.
So here's a person that
you guys get along great.
We do.
Yeah, I love Mark. And I'm sure I'd love Mike Neal. I just don't know him. But I look at it and I go, okay, I put in a ton of work for a long time doing this. A lot of people just said, you know what, we're going to take the word of a person who's never donated money to the party, who's never donated time, and has written a book taking credit for a lot of the hard work that most of us did. We're going to yell at you for the podcast that has 4,000 listeners, which is roughly 4 times the National Libertarian Party convention, who has created hundreds of libertarians and put them into the Libertarian Party. We don't care about any of that. We just don't think that it's very mature that you would put, Chris's face on an
less effective, so we'd be better thought of.
Right. If we could just be like
that's literally the argument.
And this is a big.
It's hilarious.
And this
that's
is
the argument.
a serious problem coming out of the National Convention that a lot of Libertarian Party people have talked about. There are a lot of people within the Libertarian movement. Greg and I are not one of them, but I do see their valid argument in that we nominated Johnson and we nominated Weld, 2 people who are not libertarian enough, people who are watered down libertarians. And we did it because we want the debate commission to like us. We want the pollsters to like us.
Desperate to be relevant.
And we're desperate to be relevant and liked by people. And that's not what the party of principle stands for. That's the party of popularity, and that makes us no different than the other 2 parties. And
they're also for killing babies.
Well, I know. There are a lot of pro-life libertarians too, Rob.
They're all Johnson and Weld. That's what really gets me.
They are pro-life, yes. Or pro-choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it is what it is. It's established law. I thought and last night on the town hall, Gary Johnson defended that very well. He defended the Roe versus Wade, and then talked about the actual case, which is the one that's taken priority and set the tone of how the law's been interpreted.
Doesn't that bother you guys, though, that you have a guy who was an elected Republican, runs as a Republican for president, doesn't win? Okay, that happens to everybody except for me. I win all the time. But you run for president, you don't win. That's okay. There's only going to be one winner. And then you just hop over to the Libertarian Party. And now you're like, well, let's run him again.
It might bother me if I was partisan, but I'm not partisan. I'll take liberty wherever I can get it.
But is he really?
He is. He went in 1996 or 1993, I think it was. He went to the local Libertarian Party in New Mexico and realized how poorly organized they were. And so he joined the Republican establishment, but he's been a Libertarian Party member since the early 90s.
He got asked this last night, him and Weld, during the town hall, and Gary addressed it and said, I've always identified as a Libertarian. It's just that I chose to run as a Republican in order to affect change.
Sure.
How do you justify Weld, though? I mean, there's nothing Weld that you would say, well, that's very Libertarian of him.
He actually is. He's staunchly fiscally conservative. On the social issues, he didn't win his re-election because he took some very, very, or I forget what the exact issue was on a social issue that ended up costing him his re-election bid.
But he's for killing the babies, too.
Killing babies?
He's for defenseless babies in the womb that can't defend themselves. He's for allowing those.
Clearly, you are neutral on this topic.
Yeah, right. He's for allowing them to die, right?
He's for giving the woman the right to choose what to do with her body.
Right.
Because
kill the child.
Well, here's the thing for libertarians, right?
The breathing, living, functioning entity.
Breathing is not accurate.
It is a living entity. It's not even disputed by the people that are pro-abortion.
It isn't that I disagree with you. I'm just saying,
No, here's the actual argument is so libertarians' foundational principle is self-ownership, and so if you don't have complete control over what you do with your body, none of the rest of the rights matter because there's no platform to stand on. So there's really only, to me, 2 ways to look at the whole abortion debate. One, it's murder. That's one way of looking at it because you're clearly preventing life from coming about. The other one is a parasite-host relationship. It can't survive on its own without you as the host.
That is a very interesting way to phrase it. I've never heard it phrased that way.
There's a book
those are the only two ways I can logically think about it. And I can see the argument. If I wouldn't tell Rob Kendall that he has to carry a tumor or a growth to term before it can be removed, and should he choose not to, he's going to jail. I don't have the right to tell you to do that with your body.
There's a guy named Eric Schonsberg who is an amazing blogger, great libertarian from the southern part of Indiana, and he's written a book called Turn Neither Right Nor Left that's behind you, and he talks about abortion, and he's very he's pro-life. He's very he's a Christian libertarian, I would say. And he talks about the abortion issue, and he says, in some interpretations, if you look at Scripture, the breath of life is the beginning point of life in Scripture, and so you could argue that the child's first breath is when life begins. So now that's one of he lays out the multiple arguments for or against abortion, but he does say that's one of them. And I had never heard that perspective before. It's a very, very interesting book. If you can get Turn Neither Right Nor Left, maybe email Eric and see if he has any left.
I feel like Rob's been itching for an abortion debate he hasn't got to have in a while.
And this is,
He's
just a shit stirrer.
I'm just a crazy right-wing radical. But if you don't respect life, how... From the moment of conception, now, and I understand the exceptions for rape and incest. I get all those. I don't oppose those. But I'm saying if you don't respect, because
if you smoke and have a miscarriage, is it murder?
No, I don't. I wouldn't think that.
Why
is an abortion murder then?
I think abortion. You are killing a child,
but you're making a conscious choice.
But just like you talked about, there is a reasonable aspect of what society will accept. The society is pro-life. I mean, it's poll after poll show that society
until they're pregnant.
Are you saying that God made a mistake in cases of incest and
You're
rape?
trying to Murdoch me.
Oh, I'm trying to Murdoch the shit out of you.
There will be no divine rape on this podcast.
I've said many times, just like I think the majority of Republicans are. I think the except for Mr. Murdoch. The case of rape or incest.
Well, he's only for divine rape. If it's not divine intervention or providential rape, then he's not in support of it.
Right.
The issue, though, if you don't respect life, and you don't respect life from the moment there is life, how are you going to respect life once it's outside the womb? I mean, it's the value that we place on a living, you guys are here doing this
life,
great
liberty,
podcast.
and the pursuit of happiness. The rest of it doesn't matter without
that's
life.
Just there's two ways to look at it. Your argument doesn't carry water because you can be pro-choice and anti-war. If you look at the debate, half the Libertarian Party, maybe 60% of the Libertarian Party says, until the baby is out of the womb, that's property. And then the other 40-50% of people, in which I am included, say that child has a right to life. They have all the rights that a living person outside of the womb would have. So it comes down to what do we want the government to do with it? Because
can it be effectively governed?
We're never gonna convince 50-50. We're never gonna come to a conclusion on this issue. It's like so many different issues. It comes down to what government force, if any, are we going to use when it comes to this issue?
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Because at a certain, the way I look at it is abortions are going to happen even if we banned them, just like Orlando shootings are going to happen in a gun-free zone at a gay nightclub. And so the reality is we try to keep it. As a libertarian, there's different ways of looking at it. You look at it as a constitutionalist, where it's not clearly given to the federal government, and so it then naturally goes to the states.
Sure.
Or you can look at it where you say, listen, we know that government does everything poorly, and so the last thing we need to do is have Mike Pence doing vagina inspections, making sure this person didn't have an abortion. And saying that, we accept the reality that these things happen, and then there's also the political element. If Democrats are pro-choice, why the hell would the Republicans ever want to stop them from creating future voters? I mean, arguably you could say that they would have lost their House majority by now if Roe versus Wade never happens, because I mean, just look at Planned Parenthood. 18.5 million to this day African Americans were not born because of Planned Parenthood and the eugenics movement. I mean, it's basically an African American genocide.
That's why that's Margaret Sanger's intention in founding Planned Parenthood.
That was the point of it, and they use it through the Southern Baptist preachers.
Were you or were you not banned for posting a Margaret Sanger quote on Facebook? I
was.
Yeah.
Does it bother you when you get banned anymore? I mean, are you just like, whatever?
No, because, I mean, the point is to make people uncomfortable. You know, that's a big reason why Donald Trump speaks to me, is because he's been called everything, and it doesn't bother him at all, and he goes out and gives an hour-long speech yesterday basically saying everything that has ever been documented and verifiable about Hillary Clinton. And for the first time, Rush Limbaugh said, "Oh my God, a Republican actually told the truth about a Clinton."
It was great. It was so wonderful.
But I mean, that's the thing, is that we live in fear, and it's a fear of public opinion and political correctness and not making anyone upset. And I'm tired of living in that fear, because what happens is atrocities happen when you quit calling things by their name. You know, whatever you believe abortion is, if you're pro-life, it's offensive to that individual to say that, oh, it's an outpatient procedure, don't even give it a second thought. It is. Whereas it's also offensive to a person on the left who says, this is my body and I have the right to decide, since this organism cannot exist on its own without me carrying it to term. I am not required to be a slave. I own my body.
All right, so we have to say goodbye to Rob Kendall because Rob has girlfriend obligations.
His very wonderful girlfriend.
Her brother is having a birthday, and me, as the wonderful boyfriend that I am, I need to be there.
Even though you could care less.
No, I love Haley's brother. He's great. He got like 1390 on his SAT. This is his 18th
Isn't it
birthday.
at a 2100 though now?
Did they expand it?
It's like 2200 now.
Lion Rob.
He neon bedowed it.
He is. He's like in the top 97% or some deal like that. He's a genius. Like,
awesome.
Yeah, he's very like, it's like scholarship level. Something I never was.
I thought you were top 20.
Oh no, I barely graduated high school.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was very mediocre, very in the middle.
I was 126 out of 320.
Yeah,
340 maybe.
Yeah, I was definitely not in the top 200 or no.
Yeah,
I was great in college. I was Dean's List and all that other.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You two are like two of the most smart, well-read guys I know.
No,
shocking.
I failed a semester of high school math.
I'm a polymath.
Yeah. But I was like a 3.65 in college. Yeah, it was total opposites.
All right, so Rob Kendall, thank you for coming. Thank you for being awarded Politician of the Decade.
Thank you for accepting our prestigious award.
Can I get a photo before we go with you guys?
Oh, heck yeah.
Award. Thank you so much.
So we're going to take a little break. Yep. You're gonna hear a commercial with the lovely and talented Chris Spangle now, advertising one of the many ways that you can support We Are Libertarians. We are supported by listeners like you, so visit wearelibertarians.com/wishlist to help upgrade our equipment. We have returned, and we're going to wrap up and talk a little bit about the town hall on CNN. It happened last night. Gary Johnson, William Weld were... I did not get a chance to see it. You watched it.
I did. I watched it and then rewatched parts of it.
So let's pretend that I don't know what happened, and you were explaining it to me like I'm the audience.
So Ted Turner started this 24-hour news network.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he started this 24-hour news network. It's called CNN. No, they had a presidential town hall. Chris Cuomo, I believe brother of Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew, yeah.
Former governor of New York. And so he had Gary Johnson and William Weld on, and they had a town hall-style discussion talking about libertarianism. And they did a good job, I felt, of separating between attacking them on their philosophy versus the opinions they actually stood for and the clarifications they gave for the kind of policies they'd pursue.
Meaning what?
So, for instance, really the only gotcha moment was when a woman whose son had taken tainted heroin and had to be fed through a tube, and it just wrecked their life entirely, confronted Gary about his willingness to completely decriminalize marijuana.
Okay.
But the assumption was it was all drugs.
Sure.
And for libertarians, that would be the case, philosophically. Sure. However, Gary said, no, I've only outright advocated for the decriminalization of marijuana.
Right.
And then Cuomo seized that moment to say, well, you recently said that you've stopped using it to be clear-headed or to stay sharp. And which that would seem to undermine his argument, but Gary handled it very well and was able to make it a real feels moment where he stumbled a little out of the gate, but turned it into, it's about helping these people. It's about rehabilitation. It's about not continuing the war on drugs and making it worse on people's lives and wrecking it. And that was something where you could see Weld isn't nearly well-versed enough for that brand of libertarianism, sort of the decriminalization, more left libertarian element.
Right.
And Gary, I thought, handled it as well as he could. He clearly felt God at the beginning and was struggling, not making eye contact, looking at the ground. And she was on the verge of tears.
Sure.
But Gary recovered and handled it very well. And I thought it was a real growth moment for us to make a clarification on something that in the past Ron Paul would get hit on. You want to legalize prostitution and drugs.
Right.
To, well, no, we have a nuanced opinion because we realize that we have to take an incremental approach.
Right.
And there were just so many great moments. They have a great chemistry together. Mm-hmm. The back and forth between the two is just wonderful. And one, Weld clearly speaks to the, he does speak to the completely socially liberal but fiscally conservative type of Northeastern Republican.
Sure.
And he does that well, but he's folksy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Gary's kind of the cool Western New Age guy, and that even came across when someone asked them about God and praying. Mm-hmm. And Gary said that I pray, and then but he made the clarification that it wasn't necessarily, it was to a personal God and not like a Christian or Jewish or Muslim God.
Sure.
And it was just a great moment. I came into it thinking I hadn't seen Gary be like that since 2012. Mm-hmm. Where he wasn't sort of, I want to say, I don't know what the right description for Gary is. He doesn't, from 2012 to now, it's like he isn't quite as, doesn't have as much conviction.
Okay.
And as much authority behind his voice when he professes his opinions.
Right.
And Gary was crystal clear. He was sharp mentally. He made the case in an extremely compelling way, especially on the pro-choice, which was just a home run.
Which was?
Clarifying between Roe versus Wade, and they both came out and publicly supported being pro-choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're going to really speak to, I've been very critical and have publicly said I think it's a fool's errand to chase Bernie voters. Mm-hmm. But yesterday a poll came out that 18% of Bernie voters would vote for Gary Johnson.
Cool.
And 22% would vote for Trump, but that's the union crowd. Obviously it's two totally separate crowds. But I think that's a very good sign that there is potential to peel off. Now, they're young, so they may not vote in as big a numbers, but in time, it gets them in the funnel and then onto the libertarian side.
Absolutely, yeah.
If Gary's the only candidate that's, endorsed by the ACLU.
Mm-hmm. He was in 2012.
Yeah.
2012.
And I mean, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump are never going to get that endorsement.
Never.
No. I mean, he did a great job. And then Weld, though, it was a little bit of something where when it was a serious policy position or like something foreign policy related or inside Washington, the Gary deferred to Weld. But Weld was the rock star.
Really?
I mean, my dad watched it and was just floored by Weld. He thought, where has this guy been? And he's of the mind, granted, it's not, Weld was never going to be the top of the ticket.
Sure.
But like, should Weld become the top of the ticket, like next time around? You created out of a William F. Buckley conservative a William Weld libertarian.
Yeah, I don't think that he would get the top of the ticket next time.
No, I mean
because the Libertarian Party just doesn't care about voters; they care about themselves.
But you have to be willing to let him come down. Gary has transitioned and come down the funnel, and so I think Weld will, because they asked him about how long have you been a libertarian, and Gary says, well, since 1994. Or I think that was the year.
So it's early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s. And then, it's like, well, I like to think I was a libertarian before people knew what it was.
Right.
Gary won the award, won a couple most fiscally conservative awards and several awards for liberty. And Weld was saying, I didn't get that second term, but from what I believed and what was achievable, this is why I think I was a libertarian then.
Yeah, that's the problem within the liberty movement is that destination libertarians like us, or direction libertarians like us, who say, listen, this is where we're at now, and we need to find solutions now and move towards a libertarian
here's what we can do.
Destination. Right. Here's where we're at now. There are other shows that are destination libertarians, not direction libertarians, who say, think
Daryl Perry types.
Daryl Perry. Daryl Perry says, this is the vision, this is the destination, this is how we want to live. This is what we ought to be espousing, and you, the listener, can choose which camp you think would be best. We just happen to think that it's
the only path forward I see.
It's spooning liberty to people is more, for guys like your dad. They're going to look at a Daryl Perry and go, wow, that's extreme. But he'll look at a Gary Johnson, William Weld, and go, "Okay, I could punch the L button for president."
I think right now, like if it was William Weld on the top of the ticket, my dad would think he was the best candidate in the race, period, on any side,
Sure.
and even the last election.
Sure.
And then they opened the debate by asking one word answer, like word association, and so the first one was Barack Obama.
Sure.
And Gary handled it really well. He's like, good guy.
Right.
And then William Weld got the one on Hillary Clinton. I didn't realize Weld and Hillary had worked together and known each other since their 20s and have actually been friends. And like people laugh thinking it was a joke, but he goes, no, I'm serious. Like she's someone I trust and someone I have respect for.
I thought I saw a bunch of libertarians getting all butthurt about that.
Oh, they were livid because, Hillary's
The devil.
Really, she is kind of the Antichrist.
She is the worst.
But it's entirely unlikely she would have ever still continued to be included in things at this point in her career and over such a long career if she was completely unlikable and had no redeeming quality.
Exactly. Yeah, you do have to be a likable person.
Yeah,
there is right, and it's this distortion field that we live in, this distorted reality that all politicians are bad, and you have to hate Hillary Clinton, you have to hate Barack Obama, you have to hate George Bush. Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
If you don't, you hate liberty and are part of the problem.
Right. I look at Barack Obama and I'd want to hang out with the guy.
Yeah.
I think that he is wrong on 70%, 75% of things.
Right.
Maybe more, but it doesn't mean that I have to think he's the devil.
No, because I do think he's thoughtful.
Right.
He's one of the few politicians, I'll say, that has spent a lot of time thinking about the philosophy he's adopted in his personal governing philosophy, and then how it applies and where to apply it,
right,
and to what degree. He's a very thoughtful guy.
Yeah. Do I think he's been a good president? No. Do I think that he's been a libertarian president? Not even in the slightest, but doesn't mean that I think he's a scumbag.
Right. And I think it's a great sign for libertarians that we have these relationships and we can bridge these divides, and by relying on these relationships, we can sort of break up gridlock and get more libertarian approaches.
Yeah, so I think yeah, because let's say, so there was years ago, I think it was 2010, or it might have been, it was 2010, when the General Assembly in Indiana was 49-51. And Rex Bell was running hard, and he had word on the ground was that he was going to do really well, and he did. And he ended up getting, for the first time in 85 years, a third-party candidate, got above 20% in a three-way race.
Yeah.
And so people just said, well, aren't you worried about tipping the scales or blah, 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 blah? I'm like, no, it takes one libertarian to get elected to be the most powerful person in the body, because he's deciding who would he caucus with. He doesn't have to caucus with anybody. He's the most powerful person in the legislature because he's the deciding vote on everything. And that's going to mean working with liberals and conservatives to find what is the best libertarian option. I am so sorry. And when he gets elected, so you do have to, the game of politics is working with people and compromising. And that doesn't really go well with our libertarian beliefs a lot of times. We don't want to compromise. We don't want, I feel that natural grating, in politics. It's like, I don't want to, this isn't pure.
Yeah.
But, so when you look at a bill, you go, on principle, I got to oppose this, but it's like gay marriage. Do I want the state out of marriage completely? Absolutely. That is the number one top of the ticket goal. But in the meantime, while we are working on trying to educate people about that and how to do that and why that's not scary, do I think that gay couples should have the rights that straight couples have? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So so that's choice number, that's B, So,
yeah.
And I think that's where libertarians get tripped up. It's like we want to argue for just A, and I think a Weld, Gary Johnson type, they go, okay, yeah, A is, you're right, A is exactly right, but the public is so far down the socialism road, we got to argue B, maybe C, before we can get to A.
Right. I mean, I think the right way to look at it is that the destination is basically our North Star.
Right.
That's what we're going towards. That's our navigational system. And then you have to, but the reality is you can't get to the North Star you can't get to for instance, the North Pole if there's a bunch of icebergs in the way.
Sure.
And the icebergs are the reality, and you have to be able to navigate it in order to reach the destination. And I just thought they did a wonderful job of blending those two elements last night. I was so proud, to see them present it so professionally, so succinctly, and to put it in terms the average voter can understand, because Gary got a tough question on the fair tax.
Sure.
And Cuomo couldn't wait to bring up, the reality is most economists agree that you would cut the revenue to the federal government in half. How would you address such an issue?
Sure.
And he goes, well, let's just be honest. He goes, you're getting down in the weeds too much. This is a starting point. We can talk about what the rate would be for such a national sales tax, or what it might have to be in order to make it be revenue neutral. Because Gary stressed, no, the whole point of the fair tax is neutrality towards revenue, so we don't grow our deficit.
Right.
He's a true fiscal conservative. And then, it bugged Cuomo because he couldn't nail him on the gotcha question about why do you hate poor people and corner them?
Which is Cuomo's deal, which is why why didn't they have Tapper or Anderson Cooper do it, not Cuomo?
But other than a few times, I thought Cuomo was he really likes Gary, and you could tell because when he brought up, Governor, this is the first time I've seen you where you're not wearing your tennis shoes. And there were just some really human moments where you could tell they had a relationship. And everyone I talked to, a lot of the libertarians were extremely harsh on it. Libertarians even Matt Welch, the editor for Reason, wrote in his article today is "Nice Guys Finished Third, Gary Johnson's Awkward Night." And I've been as critical of Gary as anyone, but this was a standing out moment. Maybe it's because I had a different level expectation.
Sure.
But they came across as so articulate. They came across as very well versed in policy and being able to defend their positions rather than just saying no. And like they were asked, Paul Ryan's introduced an Obamacare repeal and replacement bill that, is probably going to be put up for a vote. And Gary said, listen, I haven't read the full thing, but if I accept for what Paul Ryan said and just take that on face value, then that would be something I would sign.
Sure.
And I thought, that is amazing, and it's going to make every libertarian mad.
Yeah,
because you're passing a law, bro.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a responsible, grown-up, and acceptance of reality in order to make small growths for liberty.
Right.
I just thought I thought it was a great coming out party that I've been waiting for a very long time.
Cool.
And I was totally, Gary was the candidate in 2012 when he was in the Republican primary that had a command presence, was sharp, authoritative, and on his game, and knew how to handle questions and avoid the gotchas like a seasoned politician rather than a guy that's been skiing.
Right. So are you officially on the Gary train? Are you riding the Johnson?
I've always been on the Gary train. Part of me enjoys Trump because of the fear it strikes in the hearts of liberals.
Yeah, it drives everybody crazy.
I was talking to Chris Mayo and Justin Hutchinson this week, and I was like, God, guys, sometimes nationalism and Islamophobia just feels so good. And they just both died laughing, but I think there's a little element of truth in that.
Right.
But yeah, I thought all in all it was a great, it was a coming out party. It was a clear acceptance by the political class and taking our ideas seriously. And anyone that's too critical of them either not being destination libertarian enough, or anyone that is, that would still say that we're not serious and we don't have serious answers, it is a firm rejection of the destination argument and a firm rejection of we aren't a viable option.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, very cool. So I think that's kind of where we want to wrap it up because this we did our intro, we did this, and then we're going to play the rest of our Rob Kendall segment.
You can hear us formally brand Rob Kendall as ISIS Rob.
Right, yeah. It is local stuff, but I do think that there is some application because, trust me, local governments are all the exact same.
And you get the opportunity to tar and feather him for having Melissa Donaghy on.
Yeah, I don't know what his problem is.
Hers. Rob just it's...
No, I don't know what his problem is. Why would he betray us like this?
Oh, it doesn't feel like a betrayal.
No, it's a betrayal.
There's a scalp on your wall.
He stabbed me in the back, yes. We keep Jeff Cam's delegate tag.
Hilarious.
Memes. So.
Well, I think this was a good episode.
Yeah, we want to take a moment before we move into this next segment just to remember Dr. Mark Feldman, who passed away apparently last night in Cleveland, I believe it was. At this point, just came out this afternoon. We don't know what the cause of death was. Not going to speculate, but Feldman was a rising star. I mean, he really, really impressed people at the national convention. You heard Brett Bittner talk often about how he was the biggest mover in that convention, and Gary Johnson nominated him. He just is. He was a really committed member of the LNC and ran a hard race, and nobody gave him a chance. I didn't give him a chance, and then I watched him at the national convention and just was really impressed with the guy. And he brought a lot of humor.
Energy, and like a naive enthusiasm in a good way.
Yeah,
something well needed with all the cynics that tend to their cynicism that comes with years in the party.
Yeah, so it is a loss, and we are sorry to his family or those who knew him. I personally had never met him; I did not know him, but looks like the kind of guy that was just really well liked and beloved by the people that knew him.
Oh, wonderful. And he did that really great rap at the Libertarian Convention. And it was like Jeremiah said, he did more in that 2-minute rap than for healing the party and bringing people together than had been done in the 2 months prior to. And the Libertarian Party, because he passed away, it's a little less fun.
Yep.
It's a little more serious. It's a little more cynical, and it's a little less fun. He was a breath of fresh air and sunshine in a party that tends to get down on itself.
Yeah. So rest in peace,
Alan Feldman.
Alan Feldman. Sorry, I'm trying to do eulogy, messed your name up. I apologize. Low Brett Bittner shirts are in. Never Bittner shirts came in, and they are ridiculous.
Are they?
Did you get one?
I haven't ordered one yet.
No.
I designed them and have not been properly compensated for my intellectual property.
It's too late. You can't order them now. I didn't order one either. Because you know why? We're Never Bittner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would I support something I'm trying to prevent?
But thank you to those who bought those T-shirts. There is a really cool Rex Bell T-shirt, Rex Bell for Governor, a campaign here in Indiana to support him. There are We Are Libertarians T-shirts coming soon. We want to thank everybody for the awesome response that we got from the State of the Union and some of the changes that will be coming up here on We Are Libertarians. It was really nice to hear how many of you people are excited about the future of We Are Libertarians, and a few of you upped your donations. I have not yet built out the membership portion. We have a live show Monday at Morty's. The only way that you can hear that is if you become a member or if you show up to the show. So we're not going to put that live show, which is a lot of fun, very funny. You've got to show up if you want to see it or become a member, and we'll let you know as soon as we get that membership system up. So, thank you, Greg. Thank you to everybody who is making the commitment to grow We Are Libertarians. Is there anything that you'd like to mention before we wrap up?
The last thing, I was just going to briefly mention the Supreme Court ruled on a case that the U.S. I'll read the Reuters hotline. U.S. top court limits drunken driver refusal laws. So the Supreme Court decided 7-1 that states cannot criminalize the refusal to take a blood test without a warrant, but also ruled 6-2 that it was acceptable for states to punish the refusal to take a breathalyzer, which is it's interesting because I always thought that forcing someone to give blood if they refuse the breathalyzer is an unlawful search and seizure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't have the evidence to prove.
Who was the one? Do we know who the one is?
The one
out of the 7 to the 1.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Was it good old Ruth?
It was probably Ruthie.
Yeah.
No, I would think that would be a conservative.
Really?
On that. A big government conservative type.
Gotcha.
Thinking a Tory, if you will.
All right. Well, we're gonna play a promo. We're gonna inform you a little bit about what is going on here at We Are Libertarians, and then we will see you on the other side talking a little bit more to Rob Kendall as we appear on his show on Central Indiana Today. Get the Gary Johnson for President podcast and keep up with the campaign at WeareLibertarians.com.
Welcome in to another edition of Central Indiana Today here on 98.9 WIRZ. I'm Rob Kendall, the host of the show. Thanks for joining us on the program today. Two of my favorite radio personalities in the Central Indiana area, the We Are Libertarians media empire founders, Chris Spangle.
Hello.
And Greg Lenz.
Hello, Rob.
Noted journalist.
Veteran journalist, yes, Greg Lenz. So the last time I had you guys on station management, I think it was Lenz, they said that was some great content, but we'd like you to be a little more local. So we're going to focus on some local content today.
Okay.
We're going to really wing it. And we're going to start with the fact of what's going on in Brownsburg.
Pat Bauer's hair is out of control. Is that local enough?
Is Pat Bauer still a political entity? Is he still involved?
He's probably up in South Bend. But...
Did he retire? Is he retired, or is he still legislating?
No, he retired.
He's out, so he's irrelevant. Okay, so I was on the town council for 4 years. Right. There were no terrorism, no murders, no nothing. I leave for 6 months, and the whole town is falling apart.
Well, what happened is, since you're the most prolific tax cutter in Hendricks County history, they actually had to cut back on the ISIS reporting hotline and resources, and hence Rob Kendall is single-handedly responsible for the growth of radical jihadism in Brownsburg and Hendricks County.
I'm perusing one of these there's all these Brownsburg forum boards, and I'm perusing one the other. There's like multiple. There's like 9 Brownsburg-related
You realize boards. You're admitting this on air in front of people, right?
Oh, absolutely. I enjoy looking at them. I used to engage in them. I engage a lot less now. I got really engaged during the referendum issue. And so I'm perusing one of the forums, and apparently the school was informed about this guy, the terrorist.
He's been posting videos in support of Anwar al-Awlaki, who President Obama authorized a drone strike on, and his American citizen son back in 2014, I believe.
Yeah, so apparently the school knew about this guy. They were contacted by the FBI, and of course, and I'm not a parent. None of us are parents. Greg, you don't have any kids that we know about.
Yeah, yeah.
I would appreciate the opportunity to try to become a parent if there are any women listening in Brownsburg, but not necessarily Pittsburgh.
Well, and you guys are valid people to talk to this about because you both grew up in Plainfield.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I'm perusing one of these forum boards, and somebody says at one point, because now the parents are upset because what did the school know? What didn't they know? One of the parents actually goes, well, what were they supposed to do with this kid? Have Rob Kendall interview him?
Oh, that is just too good.
And I'm reading this, and somebody actually tags me then in the post, and I'm like, I'm not getting involved, not commenting.
It's a new Rob.
But it's gone from your buddy at the State House quoting Lion
That's
Pete.
That's how I learn about it, is my friend texts me and says, Rob's part of the problem. Donald Trump specifically said, if you are not reporting these radical jihadists, then you are part of the problem, and you have to go back. And so it logically follows that Rob Kendall is...
People now blame... I'm so Brownsburg and Hendricks County now. That if there's a jihadist in Brownsburg, it's my fault, and then I'm apparently supposed to interview the jihadist.
I know. I think that's your role as the titular mayor of Brownsburg.
I think we heard in that interview with Donald Trump your adeptness at drawing out of an interviewee their true nature. By perfectly imitating all of their mannerisms and flattering them, and this guy, I think you'd be able to get a lot out of him. You'd be the new Howard Stern, the new Larry King, the new Chris Spangle, the greatest interviews in the history, the greatest interviews in media today.
So where do you think this guy is at now? Like, what happened to him?
Well, right now, he is not 18, correct?
Right, so Guantanamo Jr.
Well, I think he has to go, since it's just a threat, he would have to go to Pendleton, would he not?
So camp.
Happy camp.
He's going to camp.
Yeah.
So I would have to go to a federal prison to interview this guy?
Well, that's, I guess, the question. I wonder who has jurisdiction. I'm guessing it has to be federal, but then I believe it was the Brownsburg police who arrested him.
Yes, but the FBI was there.
Notice terrorist units.
I mean...
The terrorist unit of Brownsburg PD.
Well, so here's what I'm wondering is, don't you find that amazing, though, that actually pops up on someone's mind in a forum board? What are we supposed to do with this guy? Have Rob Kendall interview him?
Really? I'm a little bit jealous I didn't write that comment. Because that's just brilliant, to tell you the truth.
You go back and forth and go, that's kind of honoring, but now that's what I am. Because before I was the mean guy that didn't like kids. Now I'm the journalist that interviews the crazy terrorist. I mean,
Well, you did yesterday. Or 2 days ago, as I'm hearing.
Here's the deal. And you guys were critical. You have been critical of some of the guests that I have on my show.
You're lucky I let you in my home.
Well, and
we
should point out I've gone remote to tape because the
A2 Rob.
A2 Rob.
A2 Rob.
If you are just tuning in, our guests are the We Are Libertarians, Greg Lenz, Chris Spangle. I like people that are interesting on my show. I have people that I don't necessarily agree with all the time about everything.
Oh, you had John Gregg on.
I have John Gregg. I'm
Sure.
very fair. I am capable of having a conversation with just about anyone and being very wonderful.
And you proved that yesterday.
Even lunatics who had no attachment to reality.
Well, I like people that I think have a historical background, can provide some interesting perspective, and I'm willing to have them on the show.
Even if 0% of that is actually factually accurate.
I don't think you guys are maybe given a fair shake on all of this because
I mean, we're 75% factually accurate. That's a much better rate than 0.
Here's what I try to do. I try to take people and say, look, you have a story to tell, and then it's up to the audience to decide whether it's politics or comedy or whatever, the validity of the story, the background of the story, the interest of the story. I take people that people will want to sit and listen to, and then whether the audience believes them or not, they may not believe you guys.
I'm just saying, 2 days ago, you shouldn't believe anything you heard, and you need to come over here and get your spanking.
Chris has is that a ruler? Is that what that is?
That is a ruler. I'm ready.
We are at the palatial We Are Libertarians studios.
Southern Command.
Yes.
I dressed up the table for you, Rob.
And I would like to thank the We Are Libertarians because you actually presented me with a McAfee John McAfee button. I was a big McAfee fan.
Courtesy of Christy Avery.
His ill-fated attempt to be the Libertarian nominee for president. They made a huge mistake not nominating McAfee, didn't they?
Dan Dockage, a local sports radio host,
who did not get Donald Trump.
He didn't.
He did not get Donald Trump.
But he has one rule, and that you always follow crazy. And it's that, and his second rule is if you see a guy in a cape, you follow him. I think those are two great political rules.
And both of those are my dating rules.
Yeah,
so
always follow crazy.
I've attached this button to my Make America Great Again hat, so I'm going to walk around with the McAfee button that says "Let Life Live." I mean, that's almost as great as Make America Great Again.
I know.
You got triple crazy on that.
Yeah, I do. So I'm very excited that we're able to be here today. But getting back to this point, it's interesting because you guys grew up in Hendricks County, Plainfield guys.
Gentlemen.
Yes, you're very well thought of in Plainfield by many, many people.
Despite the horrendous bullying that we went through as children.
And we had Scott in all seriousness, we had the Superintendent Scott Ollinger on yesterday, and some of our shows are more serious than others, and we talked about what the Plainfield community went through, and now Brownsburg going through this, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts. I mean, when we were growing up in Hendricks County, it was, hey, just kind of make sure you're back by dark, and don't talk to strangers.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I think it's twofold. I think one, there is definitely a changing of the guard with kids today. They have so much more access to information, and they have such high expectations because we're even worse than the helicopter parents that a lot of our generation was raised under.
Yeah.
Like, every one of us grew up thinking we could be president. What the hell are our kids going to do? Like, what could they possibly achieve I mean, that's the most powerful position in the world.
Memes. Memes.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are the champions of memes, and we've talked about memes several times on the show. But I was thinking, again, perusing these forum boards, which are so fascinating.
So sad.
I really enjoy.
Do you read comments on news stories too?
Well, I enjoy the thread, and people who don't know what the thread is, it's the comments after the post is made.
Right.
Those are what really entertain me. I read one yesterday about something going on with the Junior Football League in Brownsburg, and someone being upset, and I thought, when I was a kid, like, what would it have been like if we had the internet? I mean, it was like you just went to football and you went home and, maybe
then you didn't get online and make fun of the kid who couldn't catch the pass and then get everybody else on the team making fun of him.
I'm just thinking how much worse. I'm glad we didn't have the internet.
We did. I mean, I had the internet at 13, and so I got into lots of trouble in the AOL chat rooms. But
ASL question mark?
Oh yeah, I was ASLing it up. I was.
He has boxes and boxes full of the dial-up CDs.
Rubbing my hands together, waiting for Cindy Crawford.
You had the internet at 13?
Yeah. Yeah, my parents were early adopters, and that's one of the reasons I'm such a digital genius. a major.
This is Chris
digital
Spangle talking,
strategist.
by the way.
And I think they know that. And but like I have an intern at work. He's 19. He's like, yeah, we had Snapchat in high school. Which blows my mind. I mean, could you imagine having a picture phone in middle school? Like I had a cell phone senior year.
Was it a big phone?
But it was like, it was like a brick. It was a Nokia that you could play Snake on.
Because I remember two things in high school, and Greg, maybe you're a couple of years younger than us, but I remember that we rigged the calculators to be able to play video games on.
Yes, the TI-16?
Yes.
Or something like
and
that.
then I remember we got Nintendo games. We put Nintendo games on the actual school computers, and they were administration was very upset when we did that.
Yeah.
The other thing that we never did were girls. When you figure out how to put Nintendo on computer screens.
But do you guys remember that? Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you were able to do that. We actually put Mario Brothers and used to play that on the actual computers, and that was very bad. We got in a lot of trouble for that.
Ladies, prepare yourselves. I helped found the AV Club at Plainfield.
Really? Is there still an AV club today?
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Very, because they even do an actual broadcast.
I'm very salty about this. The librarian at the time, somewhere in 10th grade, I wrote up this plan. They had just put TVs in all the rooms, and I had written up this whole plan of announcement and TV production, and like I was like a visionary of digital media even
Steve
back
Jobs.
then. Right.
Did they have lunch announcements? Did you guys do like video announcements at lunch?
In the morning, yeah.
Okay.
And then so I give this written plan to her, and she's like, "Oh, great, thanks." A year later, she wins a state award for being a genius for launching a digital video program and showing forward thinking, and I've never forgiven
This is unbelievable.
her.
Spangle's career path was perhaps stolen from him.
And as a result, I'm Brian Kill.
Breaking news.
Well, apparently we're going to get a no-knock raid here soon.
The day after we had the Plainfield superintendent on.
That is a joke.
Chris Spangle, Plainfield High School grad. Greg Lenz, Plainfield High School grad. They are my guests today. I got an award today.
What was that?
Did you give it to yourself?
I was nominated to be, I guess it's the torch bearer. For the bicentennial relay across the state. You know, they're taking this.
That is awesome.
This torch.
That's a big honor.
So I guess what they do is you get nominated, and then there's like a committee that votes on you. And I think the committee is a little more establishment, so I did not win the actual right to hold the torch. But I believe I was overwhelmingly nominated by many, many Brownsburg citizens.
That is actually a really huge deal. You should be proud.
That's an honor. I got a something from the county that was signed that says congratulations, you were nominated. And then you get the letter, you open the mail, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go Trump with the state bicentennial torch. And then you read the note with it that goes, congratulations, you were nominated. Unfortunately, you were not selected.
Yeah, much to our relief, you did not actually receive that award.
You don't have a hair on your chin if you don't light a cigarette and smoke it while you're running that torch.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm thinking, what was their reaction when someone put my name in for nomination from the group that had to make the appointment?
Would you like to take credit for this, or should I?
Was there
Go ahead, I'll let you.
Was there emotion in a second, and then it died on the floor? You know, how close was I to actually getting to carry the torch? Can you imagine what talk about giving a live wire, just a big giant microphone.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there would have been a mild panic attack, would you believe?
No,
Yeah.
I'm really running a risk doing this because I think maybe there's maybe a backup, like a B team if the A
understudy?
team if the main people can't make it. So I've
got diarrhea.
What we need to do is we need to put together a strategic plan to figure out what the rankings are, and then we'll systematically eliminate everyone ahead of you.
Because
so the only one left.
last year I was nominated for best politician in Hendricks County, as well as best public servant.
Well, you don't just be the most prolific tax cutter in Hendricks County history without being remembered.
I'm the Buffalo Bills of this, where the Hendricks County Flyer does this every year.
Yeah.
3 years in a row I was nominated.
Yeah.
3 years in a row I did not win. I was a finalist. Last year I believe I was runner-up to Connie Lawson.
She's tough to beat.
I mean, and I really feel, and we love Connie, but I really feel like that's a little bit unfair because she's a statewide politician
who
lives in Hendricks County.
Name ID.
I mean, how am I going to? Because it's online fan voting,
And she's very she doesn't rustle any feathers.
Her Facebook presence is like at least 1,200 people, and you're only at 1,100.
And I have people that just hate me. I don't think anyone hates Connie Lawson.
Mostly me.
Yes, I believe people were actively voting against me. I don't think anyone was actively voting against Connie Lawson.
You're not a general election candidate. You're a primary candidate.
Yes. And I really thought last year was going to be the year. It was my swan song on the town council. I'd been nominated 2 times before, and I got the dual nomination last year of best public servant. And I thought maybe we would take home both the trophies.
Well, I mean, you have to go along sometimes to win these awards, and if there's anything, Rob Kendall is principled. No one I know follows local politics like Rob.
Right.
Because we met at Hopcat for dinner not too long ago, and he was telling me about the inner workings of the referendum and then the TIF money, and I was like, this guy lives it. Like, he just needs to be mayor. I mean, and I think that's when we decided that you're going to make Brownsburg great again.
So here's the deal. There's another local radio show in the area, and they were referencing me as the mayor the other day. And Brownsburg's not even a city yet. So, I mean, should I run for mayor if we become a city?
Yes.
Should I do it?
I think I would just start telling people I was the mayor.
Should I do that? Should I put that on my resume? Because I had a job interview the other day, and I had to go. I had to put together a resume, and I haven't put together a resume like in forever.
If Elizabeth Warren can be Cherokee, then you can definitely be Brownsburg's mayor.
I could be the mayor. So, so would I be a good mayor?
No.
Well, you don't think I'd be a good mayor?
No. And when did you guys go to Hopcat without me? Why wasn't I invited?
You were dealing with a mildly mentally discomforting issue.
Yeah, you were under the weather.
Someone had decided to go in a different direction.
We were worried about you weeping openly at the restaurant.
Instead, there were these neck-bearded hipsters with scarves on in 90-degree weather mocking Rob's backwards "Make America Great Again" hat.
Great.
And I just kept wanting to point to him at the railing next to us like it was the wall, and they were going over it.
The best part was I had the hat turned around, and so we sat down, and then at some point Greg realizes what hat I'm wearing, and he like the look of shock on his face that you would wear that hat in Broad Ripple.
Right.
Like I thought he was going to
I loved it, but I worried for your safety. Because there's nothing more scary than vegans with pitchforks and raw potatoes.
Okay, again, our guests are Greg Lenz and Chris Spangle, the We Are Libertarians Network. We're trying to talk local here today because they really want to keep the focus local on this. So
they want it to be then primarily your listenership and your coverage area?
Right. They feel you guys are diverse enough that you can still draw the libertarian audience that you normally bring with you.
We actually have a really strong footprint the Libertarian Party of Indiana does in your area.
You do?
Yeah.
Michael Dowden is great.
Yeah,
Kevin Rogers is running for state senate there.
Tens and tens of libertarians in Hendricks County.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Kevin Rogers is a very, very impressive state senate candidate. I interviewed him, really enjoyed it.
Exceptionally well-spoken, very professional, and he just handles himself with... He's got an air of class about him.
I really feel empty now, too, because my arch nemesis will not be on the ballot.
That was the problem. If you really beat him like you did, you have no villain anymore.
I mean, I was really prepared for, and I told Kevin this, was joking with him. I said I was prepared for you to be my backup option for the fall, and now the other guy wins, and I said I'm just remaining neutral in this one. I like both of you. So so let's circle back here. Hendricks County as a whole. What do you do if you're a parent today? I mean, you have a report where somebody literally who was a serious threat to promote and condone and enact terrorism, apparently.
He was actively recruiting in, was it Meadowood Park?
That's right. Right across the street from the old Rob Kendall estate.
Was he like knocking on doors like a Mormon?
Like apparently Williams Park, which was literally right across from where I so bravely lived, apparently. Yeah. Like recruiting kids to join ISIS. Now you would think that might be a red flag.
See something, say something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're recruiting, I don't know how it all works, but you would think that would be like a very red flag to be in a park and openly recruiting kids to potentially join a terrorist network.
But so are we worried that our kids are going to be recruited for ISIS? Is this I'm more worried about like child molesters getting my kids.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening to the county because you can't stop growth.
No, I think this is a one-off. I do think this is a one-off, and a lot of what's missed about ISIS's appeal, especially in the Middle East, is it for disillusioned youth that have no economic opportunities. This is the best economic opportunity. They're beaten down, they have no purpose in life, and they're told that they can have a purpose, have a sense of camaraderie, join a team, and earn a living. And so,
but I felt beaten down and had no purpose in life while I was on the town council. I didn't go out and try to join ISIS.
No, you join the Libertarians.
In hindsight, that's your fault.
We are Libertarians.
I can't accept responsibility for your poor decisions, Rob.
Right.
You're an adult. You figure it out yourself.
Let's get into Rob's poor decisions, shall we?
No, but I mean, this is a kid that he had to be on the radar because I don't know if you saw the news stories, but he is taking multiple selfies in front of an ISIS flag, the black and white colors, and it's slight variation of the Al Qaeda flag. But this guy's been on the radar, and we're naturally more susceptible because we have the Islamic Association or the North American Islamic Association in Plainfield, and multiple people have been caught on that bridge going over Interstate 70, and they've been people on the top 10 FBI list. I mean, it's something where we are the crossroads of America, and they come here for their initial point of contact. And that organization has long since had not close, but financial ties to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Right.
All right, another issue going on locally. You guys are doing a great job keeping up with the local conversation here today.
I haven't read a newspaper in 3 years, but I'm making it all up. That's how great I am.
You're doing a tremendous job. So the other big issue in Brownsburg now is they are proposing, or at least preliminarily proposing, a water and sewer rate increase. It's fairly substantial.
Yeah, and I think that it's nice that you've decided to remain neutral on this topic today, especially on social media. I'm not sure if you were aware the actual...
I was not.
Oh, Rob took it upon himself not only to write a letter, but to provide a template for everyone else and the contact information for everyone else to send the same
That's what
letter.
I like about Rob. He's a go-getter.
Yeah, but so here's the deal. I left the town council. I'm not happy with the way it was handled, and I left the town council believing the money was there to fund this.
It is there.
Plant increase without raising water and sewer rates. And my issue is that in the case, it's all municipalities. It's not the town of Brownsburg, but you basically have a monopoly over the utility company there. You can't go somewhere else for your water if you live in the corporate limits of the town of Brownsburg, unless there are many people that still live on wells and have septic systems.
And I'm sure they still have to meet certain guidelines by the state.
Yeah, they're controlled by your well and septic system controlled by the septic system controlled by the county. So my issue is we shouldn't be pursuing bright shiny objects if we have to meet the necessities of the citizenry, because if you're a senior citizen on a fixed income, $252 a year is a big deal.
Sure.
It's literally the difference between whether you're going to be able to get your additional prescription for a medicine you might need if that's all you have coming in.
But isn't this an essential function of a local government? And I would argue that, I've been to Brownsburg a few times recently, and y'all have spent a lot of money putting up fancy little structures right there at the beginning, right across from Crew Car Wash and across from the Starbucks. Like that stuff costs real money. In Plainfield, there is this horrific-looking structure by the Oasis Diner Dairy Queen thing.
That was federal grant money.
It's $2 million. Who
Thanks,
cares?
Obama.
It's ridiculous looking. It's terrible. Like that money.
I like to feel like it's half of our arch.
Right. So I just we spend all this money putting up all this fancy and of course it's not. It's a user service. And it's like I live in Indianapolis. Okay, so we're here on the beautiful south side, Southport, and you've seen the water guys make a big push here in Indianapolis, going, "Hey, water mains are breaking. We got to keep fixing it." And that's why there's a price increase, and it's because the Indianapolis City County Council has punted for 10, 20 years. Because they don't want to be responsible for the rate increases, and so we're paying more in our bills anyways because of a lack of upkeep. Meanwhile, they've spent stuff like the cultural trail and bike trails and like all this stuff that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. A local government's duty is to provide those essential services
that they've been entrusted with. And
right.
because it's a monopoly, they have an even higher level of public service and responsibility
Absolutely.
to make sure it's done cost effectively.
Well, and here's what's going on in town. We'll go ahead and air it out. This is my theory. Maybe some breaking news here on the show. In Brownsburg, for right or wrong, whether you like me or not, I was a very strong voice.
He's very
passionate
in the community, and it was sort of like, look, here's where Rob and the people that see the future of the town the way Rob does, this is where they want to take the community. And that was sort of the guidepost, that was maybe not the exact direction, but we had a slim majority on the council, so we were able to kind of move the town in a certain direction. Now that voice comes off, you have everybody that's sort of jockeying for a position on how do we lead the town, and you have a very diverse set of views. And I think it comes back to something the Republican Party really talked about in their party platform this year at the convention. We need more cities because we need more mayors, because mayors are directly accountable, and getting away from the joking of should Rob be mayor.
Well, you already are. I thought we decided that.
Yeah,
we took a vote.
Should you have a mayor? Because that person, the chief executive, unlike a town manager, is responsible to the voters. Sure. And if they're going to ponder a rate increase, they know their job's on the line.
Right. But then you also get the issue. It's like we actually talked about on the episode prior that I was on, is that you create an incentive where the incentive is to punt it and to put it off, and it's like a game of removing chairs or Russian roulette. You just hope to God you're not the person standing there when the thing ends, and it's the Democrat you can blame it on and run against him in re-election.
Or it's Rob Kendall, the most prophylactic tax increaser in history.
Yeah, that's right. That would not happen under Rob Kendall. It's just disappointing, though. And I thought the letter I sent was very nice.
Oh, yeah, no, it was. It was just that you don't often see someone get that's the thing is today, like, American citizenship's hard. You have to pay attention all the time, and there aren't many of us that watch the local level that affects our lives so much and then have a nuanced opinion and can make the argument succinctly. And so I was just shocked to wake up, or like, no, it was like 10 o'clock or whatever, and I'm going and I'm just like, I'm using the restroom, and I see it, like, oh, God. There goes Rob. He's going on the Brownsburg Most Wanted list. He's going to be right there behind the ISIS team.
I think the school corporation just said, thank God it wasn't us for once.
I know.
But you got to be equal in terms of the way you distribute your passion and energy. If it's an increase on the citizenry, it's an increase on the citizenry.
Sure.
And how many Chris Spangles are there out there who that rate increase would be the difference on whether they pay their rent or not?
I don't. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I live paycheck to paycheck. My credit score is terrible. But like I'm not.
None
good
of us
with money.
made you get married.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. You want avoid.
That's the biggest tax you can pay as a wife.
Avoid rate increases. Do not get divorced.
Where I think I screw up is it's not the initial inquiry or correspondence. It's then everybody, because I have birdies everywhere, tell me what the response from other people is. And then
because people don't have the courage to stand up and say it.
Yeah. Well, you guys have done brilliant with this local content today. You guys are great.
Well, yeah, we're excellent broadcasters.
I mean, you guys really should have a radio show. Greg, Chris, that is going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for taking the time to fill our listeners in on what's going on in Hendricks County.
Absolutely, Rob.
You guys are very well versed.
Yes, and before we go, we feel that you've been slighted, so we have a presentation that we'd like to make to you.
Oh my gosh!
It is the We Are Libertarians a Politician of the Decade. And we are presenting it to you, Rob Kendall.
This
Signed
is so
and
great.
Sealed.
This is so wonderful.
Yes.
You won an award today.
This is great. I came up short in the torch relay, but this award right here
is decade.
This is literally, for those of you listening at home, let me describe this to you. It says, We Are Libertarians, Politician of the Decade, under my name, Rob Kendall, signed by Greg Lenz, listed as Director of Minority Outreach, and Dear Leader Chris Spangle. It is done in what appears to be a Sharpie of some sort, multicolored.
Several seconds were spent on
it. And in many, this is so touching.
I'm glad. If there's anyone that deserves to be recognized for their commitment to public service, it's Rob Kendall.
Do you think, because I'm friends with Connie Lawson on Facebook, do you think she would be mad if I tagged her and said you have nothing on me?
I think you should.
Yes.
Why would you stop now? I mean, there's one corner left of the barn to burn down. Why just let it be a slow burn?
She's the Secretary of State, and I do own several businesses licensed in Indiana. So
you really think she'd revoke them?
You own a multi-million-dollar media outlet. Never pick a fight with ink by the barrel.
What's its name?
Rob Kendall
and
That's
Associates.
It. Right, Rob Kendall. Via the Human Fund.
This is so great. You guys are so wonderful. I can't think of a better way to end the weekend.
Well, congratulations on your award, and thanks again for having us on, Rob.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, don't forget, if you missed any part of the show, you can go back and check it out anytime you want, including my receiving the We Are Libertarians Politician of the Decade Award. You can check out the podcast anytime by logging onto the website at wirz.org. Click the shows button at the top of the page, scroll down, find Central Indiana Today, and there you go. Until next time, I'm Rob Kendall saying have yourself a great evening.
Hey guys, it's me. That's right, I'm back. It's Chris Spangle. You know, you just heard me talking in the middle of this show, and then I said, let's take a break and hear more of me. I'm sure that's what I said, because that's what I would say if I were doing the podcast and listening to this again. But I'm here to tell you what we do with your money when you donate it to us by giving us $5 a month through PayPal, Patreon. You can go to Patreon, and if we don't do a show, we don't get paid, so it gives us incentive to get paid. What's more libertarian than that? What we do with that money is we apply it to advertising and equipment. We do things to grow the podcast so more people can hear our voice. I want you to think about it. You like We Are Libertarians. I know it's your favorite podcast. You know it's your favorite podcast. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.